Hello, my name is Andrei Stanciu, and I am a policy researcher for Vocal Europe. In today's podcast, we have Mr. Siegfried Mureșan, chair of the European Parliament's delegation to the EU-Moldova Association Committee and vice chair of the European People's Party group, to continue our talk on Moldova's pro-European path, as well as discuss the EPP's approach to the growing instability across the EU's eastern neighborhood. Mr. Mureșan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Since you have recently had the honor to meet Moldova's new president in Brussels just over a month ago, I would like to begin our discussion by talking about Moldova's judicial reform and fight against corruption, since we know it has become during the past 6 years a hallmark of its relations with the EU, as well as President Sandu's main strategic objective for her mandate. In your distinguished position as chair of the EU-Moldova Association Committee, in what ways do you think the EU can most effectively support President Sandu's judicial reform? And could you give us any concrete examples in this regard?
Look, the recent developments in the Republic of Moldova are remarkable. They are remarkable not only for the Republic of Moldova, but for the European Union as a whole. They are remarkable because a pro-European candidate attached to European values, a candidate who wants to decisively fight corruption, a candidate who believes in the rule of law, won against the incumbent pro-Russian, pro-Kremlin president who did not see Moldova's closer relations to the European Union as a positive development. And this development is remarkable for the European Union as a whole because it is exactly the type of development that we would have liked to see in Belarus, and it proves to be so difficult. A pro-European candidate, a candidate who believes in European values, winning an election through a popular vote. This is very important for the people of Moldova as well, because Maia Sandu is a president who is highly respected and she's credible in the eyes of the international partners. And that means that she can obtain concrete benefits from international institutions for the people of the Republic of Moldova. This being said, to answer your question in concrete terms, we have already held a series of meetings with President Maia Sandu, and in each and every of these meetings, she said, fighting corruption, strengthening the rule of law will be the top priority of my mandate. And as President of the Republic, she does have some prerogatives in this area. Firstly, she asked for support, and she will receive support. She will receive technical support, and she will make use of that support, because there's a big difference between a president who says, hey, look, I have to let some European experts into the country and pretend to listen to them. There's a big difference between such an attitude and the president who says, I really believe in the fight against corruption. I want the best experts in the country. I want as many as possible. I want them to work in the administration, in the prosecutors' offices, to reform them. I want them to be in the ministries. I want them to be in parliament. I want them to be in all institutions. And I want my country to make use of their experience. So she has asked for support. She will receive technical support. She will receive staff from member states, from the European Commission. She will make use of these people. They will not just hang around in an office, but they will be heard, and they will have an impact upon the policies of the president in strengthening the rule of law. Firstly. Secondly, there will be the financial support from the European Union, which is conditioned upon the progress in the rule of law and in tackling the fraud in the banking system. So a president, and as Prime Minister, Maia Sandu has already proven to us that she fulfills commitments, and that's why we were also able to help with the Republic of Moldova financially during her tenure as Prime Minister, more than we could do in every of the recent years. So the financial support will be also more comprehensive because of the fact that the country is now led by a president who respects the commitments in terms of rule of law.
Thank you.
And last thing, also very concrete, she said she wants to work closely with those European institutions who have explicit prerogatives in fighting fraud, money laundering. So she initiated a close cooperation with the European Public Prosecutor's Office, which is an institution that will build up lots of expertise in tackling fraud, tackling money laundering, and that will also be useful for the Republic of Moldova.
Besides the judicial dimension, could you tell us a couple of areas you believe Moldova needs reform in the nearby future? And could you tell us what have been some of the EU's main achievements and failures in addressing them so far? Look,
people, first priority is obviously, you know, keep the citizens, offer a perspective to the citizens of Moldova back home. Reduce their need, you know, to leave the country in pursuit of a better life. And in order to achieve that, the economy needs to be stronger. People need to see a perspective. So obviously, firstly, public services have to be good. Public administration has to be reformed. The rule of law has to function, because this is, you know, now a clear demand, particularly of younger, educated, pro-European people in the Republic of Moldova, like also in my home country, Romania. So the rule of law is not just an abstract concept, but it's something that you really need in order to provide European standards of living and to correspond to the needs, particularly of young people. So that's the first element. The second element is you need a working economy. You need an economy which is competitive, which is strong, which can provide, and also at decent salary levels. For this, the economy needs to be competitive. This is why we need to invest in infrastructure. And this is what the European Union has been doing, together also with some member states. Romania has bilaterally engaged a lot, has done a lot, invested in the area of infrastructure. So this is why my call is that we now started a 7-year period for the new 7-year budget of the European Union. It's called the 7-year multi-annual financial framework. So we are now deciding on how EU's money will be used in the next 7 years. And my take is that for the Republic of Moldova, a significant amount of the money should be used for infrastructure. Connect the Republic of Moldova better in terms of energy, electricity and gas to the European Union, reduce its dependence upon the Russian Federation, and improve the quality of railways and roads in the Republic of Moldova. Only a competitive economy, an economy which is less dependent, you know, is attractive to investors, which is what you need in order to create jobs and to ensure a high level of payments.
Thank you. Since you mentioned Romania, as we know, Romania's president visit to Chișinău last December was labeled by Ms. President Sandu as a renewal of Moldova's bilateralism with Romania after 6 years of modest strategic dialogue and no high-level visits between the countries. Since you are also a member of Romania's National Liberal Party, which is leading the current coalition government since December as well, could you tell us concretely what are the current government's strategic goals regarding its support to Moldova's European integration?
The Republic of Moldova is very important to Romania's current government, and not only in political terms, but also in very concrete terms. Just remember, 2 years ago, we had a pro-Russian, pro-Kremlin president in the Republic of Moldova. We had, you know, an unclear parliamentary majority, a government that was not committed to reforms. Likewise, we had in Romania a socialist, backwards-oriented government. We have managed to bring that down through a motion of no confidence, install a liberal pro-European government under the leadership of the former Prime Minister Ludovic Orban, who had been a long-term ally of pro-European forces in the Republic of Moldova and of Maia Sandu specifically. President Sandu will be in a better position than me to tell you about the support that she received from Romania throughout the last years, but I can tell you that from our side, we did all we could to support her because we believed that she was, you know, the right candidate to win the elections in the Republic of Moldova and to embark the country on a decisively pro-European path. This being said, last year, Prime Minister Ludovic Orban was always in very close cooperation, in very close contact with the candidate Maia Sandu, and throughout his time as Prime Minister, also during the pandemic, he did all he could to provide support to the people of Moldova, including in terms of medical assistance and so on. We have now a new government, also led by my party, as was the previous one, and the commitment towards the Republic of Moldova is the same. The president has been visiting the country. Prime Minister Sandu met with our new prime minister in Bucharest 2 weeks ago. The commitment is the same. We could provide already some aid last week to the citizens of the Republic of Moldova. More is coming. The president of the country has made this commitment. So I see now more commitment on both sides than ever in recent years, with the president on the Romanian side, who is committed to close relations with the prime minister, who is committed to also helping, and with the leader of the governing coalition in the person of Ludovic Orban, who is now serving as president of parliament, who has done very clear things and concrete things for the Republic of Moldova during his time as prime minister, and also before as opposition leader for the pro-European force in the Republic of Moldova. On the other side, I see with Maia Sandu, president who appreciates the close contacts, who appreciates the support from the Romanian side, in contrast to the previous pro-Russian president, who would never appreciate Romanian support. She sees Romania as a key ally on Moldova's path towards the West, a key player in Moldova's European integration. So I believe we're living through good times now when it comes to relations between the Republic of Moldova and Romania.
Thank you. As one of the vice chairs of the EPP, I would like to draw your attention now to the Eastern Partnership affairs in general, since it is a foreign policy priority of your group within the European Parliament. In light of the rapidly growing instability across the EU's eastern neighborhood, as we know the protests in Belarus, conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, recent protests in Georgia, what solutions or priorities does the EPP envisage for addressing these issues ahead of the EP summit this year?
Look, we intend to engage, we intend to stand up for European values, we intend to support pro-European politicians who are attached to European values, to human rights, to the rule of law. We intend to speak up, we intend to be very clear in relation with autocratic politicians. We were very disappointed when the socialist high representative of the European Union went to Moscow with no clear agenda, no concrete demands, achieving nothing, and just serving at the end of the day the autocratic current Russian regime, because it was clear that any dialogue with the Russian Federation that is not based on concrete demands and that will not have concrete outcomes only serves President Vladimir Putin. We reject that type of development. We believe now is the time to be united, to stand firm in the dialogue with those who are threatening the rule of law, the European values. We intend to work more with civil society, with students, with young professionals, with small and medium-sized enterprises, to provide for more opportunities. There is already a lot, but to provide for more opportunities for exchanges with the European Union, and to also encourage exchanges, people-to-people contacts between the countries. Young people from the Republic of Moldova being able to engage in projects with young people from Ukraine just across the border, have people going closer together, have them interact more with young professionals from the European Union. So be as decentralized as possible. Do not only focus on the political dialogue, which is very important. And as I said, we're going to make it very clear who are the politicians that we believe in, and we are going to be very firm in relation to politicians and to statesmen that are challenging the way of life based on European values.
Well, relating to values and enmity towards Russia, as we know, the EU's goals of stabilization and resilience building in the Eastern Partnership, oftentimes in contradiction with Russia's strategic goals for the region. Given the downward trend in the EU's relations with Russia, also recently exacerbated by Navalny's arrest, in what ways do you think the EU's policy vis-a-vis Russia at the moment could impact the overall objectives in relation to the Eastern Partnership countries?
Look, everything that we are going to, all of what I said when it comes to Eastern Partnership countries is valid also when it comes to the Russian Federation in terms of strategic approach, in the sense that we are going to look for more dialogue with the pro-European forces, on the political area, but also throughout the society, amongst the civil society, enterprises, and so on. And the same is valid when it comes to the same what I said before when it comes to autocratic politicians in Eastern neighborhood countries is also valid when it comes to the Russian regime. So we will have to apply the same standards, the same measures. There is obviously member states within the European Union that have closer economic ties with the Russian Federation, with them being softer in the policy towards Russia in such a case. But we have to be clear. We have to be firm. We have to stay united, because we can't put the economy before European values and before human rights. We have to put human rights first, and we have seen breaches of human rights. We have seen peaceful protesters being abused. We have seen unjust trials, like also in the case of Mr. Navalny. We have to speak up on this. We can't ignore all of these developments. They have to influence, and they are influencing our decision-making processes in a very clear way. As I said, we cannot separate the human rights from the economy, because at the end of the day, the business that some member states and some enterprises are doing with the Russian Federation just allows for the Russian Federation to build up larger cash buffers, which eventually, they can spread and spend for populistic measures instead of reforming the country. And all of this, does not lead to a better life for the people of the Russian Federation. This is why one cannot separate the economy from human rights, because the money that Russia makes from business with some EU member states are sometimes being used to suppress human rights, and that is not acceptable. Human rights can never, come second after economic relations, particularly not in times when we have seen this aggressiveness from the Russian Federation that we saw in recent months.
Thank you. Mr. Mureșan, thank you so much for this insightful exchange, and we are grateful for dedicating your time to have this discussion with us today.
Thank you very much. The pleasure was mine. All the best.
Hope to hear again from you in the future. Thank you so much.